In college, William was humiliated and discarded by Sophia after she kept him as her boyfriend. Years later, he's a successful CEO while she's a fallen technician. Now in control, William faces a choice: seek revenge or revive the twisted remnants of their past love. Ding! Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. During my sophomore year, I was kept by the campus belle, Sophia. She said that in a family like hers, the man she would marry in the future must be of equal social status. However, she had the final say in how she would have fun before marriage. So, she showered me with money, asking me to be her boyfriend because I was handsome enough. Besides, I am excellent in many ways, such as learning games and basketball. I could not only amuse her, but also added to her prestige when taken out. At first, she was quite nice to me, just like any normal girlfriend would be. I could tell she loved me, but later, she started treating me like a dog, even forcing me to wash her feet in public, and compelled me to drink the water she washed her feet with. From then on, humiliating me in public became her greatest pleasure. Embarrassingly, I found myself still loving her indelibly, even after the way she treated me. I even thought that even if she got married in the future, as long as she wanted, I would continue to be with her, being the dog she kept on the side. But I was clearly thinking too much. She left without a word during my senior year. From that moment, my love for her turned into hate. And the next time we met again was 5 years later. I was the owner of an internet company worth billions, while she was a masseuse at a private club. In the living room of the villa, a dozen people were chatting and laughing. Dressed in a long black dress, Sophia, now provocative and bewitching, was seated on the main spot of the sofa. Sophia raised her leg, pushing her high heels towards me. I quickly crouched down, cradling her feet, and proceeded to take off her high heels for her. "Smell this. Is it fragrant?" She nonchalantly petted the Maltese dog in her arms, and then her hand found my head, stroking it with the same nonchalance as she did the dog's. A burst of raucous laughter filled the air, her friends looking at me as though I were a dog. My heart was tormented. I wanted to yell at Sophia, to forbid her from insulting me any further, but I was afraid. If I did yell, I was afraid that I would lose even the right to be considered her dog. I was like a spineless thing, humbly and pathetically in love with Sophia in every sense. In the end, just as she commanded, I held her high heels to my nose. Sophia stomped her foot on my face and said, "Sniff it like you're intoxicated." So, I had to pretend to be intoxicated, and everyone burst into laughter again. Their words seemed to echo in my ears. "Doesn't he look just like a dog? How pathetic." I felt exactly the same, like a dog, and a pathetic one at that. But if there was no Sophia, my father would die because we could not afford his surgical fees. My younger sister would have to drop out of school, and I would have to withdraw from my prestigious college. My mother would be heartbroken, feeling guilty, and may even end up depressed and alone. It was when I was most in need of money that Sophia had stepped in. She handed me a card, telling me, "You get cash and you get to sleep with a beauty like me. Count your blessings." Back then, Sophia had a poor reputation. People called her tainted goods or a dirty bitch. But I couldn't care less about all that. I took her money and agreed to her requests. I was grateful to her and was moved by our shared moments, which eventually turned into an unshakable love. But when my love for her reached the deepest core of my bones, she heartlessly pushed me into the dust with her foot. Yet I still loved her as I did before. Even if it meant being a dog with no dignity, I desired to spend my entire life with her. So, when Sophia demanded that I drink her foot-washing water in public, I did not hesitate to drink it. Sizzling, Sophia kicked over the bucket of foot-washing water, splashing me and completely soaking my clothes. "You are so cheap," Sophia disdainfully cursed me. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my head. As I slowly opened my eyes and looked around, I was astounded by everything around me. It was the same dream again. Ever since Sophia broke up with me, this scene would replay in my dreams every time I fell asleep. Back then, I was nothing but a whimpering dog begging for mercy in front of her. Nowadays, I already possess a multi-billion valued internet company. At this moment, I am even more so at the top private club in River City. William, why are you sweating so much? The voice came from Noah beside me, who is my brother. His efforts have contributed a lot to the success of the company today. I shook my head, pulled out a cigarette and lit it. Only after taking a deep puff did I manage to push down my emotions, and then asked, "Why are we back at Gold Club again? You've been drinking too much and have been too tired lately. You should relax." With a smile, Noah said, "The beauticians at Gold Club are all top-notch. You can try their massage services and, if needed, can also try other services. I mean, how long have you been celibate?" Giving him a side glance, I didn't say a word, nor did I reject the idea. After all, the beauticians of the Gold Club really do have first-class skills. Soon, the door to the private room was opened. I was reading the news and didn't pay attention, but Noah pulled me hard. Surprised, I looked up and saw a lady at the door. Her long hair naturally cascaded down, and her delicate facial features seemed to be meticulously crafted by a master artist. She, who was naturally charming, was wearing a black mini skirt with matching black stockings, exuding an innate seductive and sexy charm. It was Sophia. I hadn't seen her for 5 years, and now the woman I once loved deeply turned out to be the masseuse who would soon serve me. "I'll go out first." Noah gave me a deep look before he got up and left. As the door to the private room closed, the modest sound of the door latching caused Sophia's body to shiver. She looked down as if afraid to look at me, yet still, she stole a glance at me. Then, she bowed her head. The once famed princess of the capital, Sophia, was now incredibly timid. I sat straight. The cigarette in my hand was nearly finished. The long ash fell onto my hand. The burning pain it caused didn't stop me from staring hard in one direction. All the love from the past has now turned to hatred, intertwining at this moment. I stared hard at her, thinking of the past, a mixture of sweetness and bitterness. Retaliate against her, reclaim all the humiliations she has once caused me. I should do just that, or else the pain from these past 5 years would always hang over me. I didn't expect our next meeting to look like this. I suddenly broke the silence. Sophia lifted her gaze, a bitter smile tugging at the corner of her lips. Her voice a hoarse whisper. She replied, "Looks like spoiling you back then was really a reflection of my cruel taste. You look even better than 5 years ago. Does dumping me mean you have bad taste?" I asked coldly. Sophia lowered her eyes, not replying. She took strides towards me, bent over and took the cigarette but from my hand, gently blowing away the ash. "Boss, shall we start now?" Sophia, half kneeling in front of me, questions. My fists clenched tight. My tone as bitter as a jilted lover. "Why did you leave without a word?" While removing my socks and placing them into the bath with the perfectly adjusted water temperature, Sophia chuckles lightly. "When you're chewing gum, when it loses its flavor, would you say goodbye to it before throwing it away?" Still the same, Is that how she sees me? A piece of gum that's initially sweet but becomes tasteless after a while, ready to be spat out whenever? I want so much to kick her, and yet, I realize I cannot bear to. "Sophia, our roles have reversed now. Once, I knelt before you, and now you kneel before me," cautioned. "So you can humiliate me at will." Sophia lifted her head and said, "Humiliate her?" Even though I wanted to, I couldn't do it. The life-saving favors she had done for my family were too great for death to repay. Even when she left without saying goodbye, she left me a villa, a Rolls-Royce Phantom, and tens of millions in savings. Without this money as initial capital, I wouldn't have accomplished what I did today. From the depth of my heart, I sighed and slowed down my speech. "I just want an answer. The only thing I want to ask is whether you ever really loved." "Loved?" Sophia laughed. "But don't get it wrong. I love the cats and dogs I raise. You don't essentially differ from them. However, if there really has to be a difference, It would be that you could bring me pleasure in bed by there could not. So, was it just because she had had enough of me and decided to call it off? I didn't say anything more. After all, I never thought of seeking revenge. Emotionally speaking, I wanted to get back at her. But not because she humiliated me, rather because she dumped me without a word. Rationally speaking, I have no right to seek revenge since she's not only my family's saving grace but also the woman I deeply love. So be it. I understand, carry on. I lie back in my chair, closing my eyes. Her touch is gentle and soothing, causing me to soon fall asleep. Moreover, for the first time in 5 years, I enjoyed a deep sleep, completely devoid of dreams. When I woke up, I saw Sophia still kneeling not far from me, touching up her makeup in a small mirror. Noticing that I was awake, she explained with a smile, "We have more guests coming, so I need to freshen up." Hearing this, a twinge of pain gripped my heart. She is Sophia. How can she be serving others? Are you short of money? I asked. Sophia gave a small nod, a bitter smile crossing her face. My family has gone bankrupt. Now, I'm the breadwinner. The once thriving Liu family in the capital has gone bankrupt. If it weren't for her words, given my status, I'd still be out of touch with the top echelons of the capital circles. Hence, I was unaware of this occurrence. I'll take care of you. I pat my pocket, pull out a card, and say, "Every year, I'll put some money into this card. It's for the day when I can repay your kindness." It's a pink card, tainted with patches of various colors because it was painted with nail polish, given to me by Sophia all those years ago. Sophia stares at the card, lost in thought, and after a considerable pause, takes it from me. "When I was the one taking care of you, you treated me quite well," I comment. "Now that our roles have reversed, it's my turn to take care of you." Sophia gets up, takes off the black hair band from her wrist, and ties up her long hair. Then, slowly, she begins to unbutton her clothes. Previously, when she was the beloved princess of the capital, during our first intimate encounter, her face reddened as if blood would come dripping out. That kind of shyness just isn't something a woman of ill repute would display. Only after we shared a bed did I realize how destructive rumors can be. Despite being labeled as a loose woman, she, in reality, was undefiled. Countless times, she'd cried, telling me how she wished she could tell everyone that she was an honorable person, but she knew no one would believe her. Perhaps people prefer to believe in a version of the truth they've painted in their own minds. For instance, a beauty like Sophia, adorned with wealth, is perhaps a worn-out shoe that countless men have stepped into, like a green, naive female college student riding in a luxury car to school. People's initial thought wouldn't be that her family is rich, but instead, they maliciously speculate that she's being kept by someone. I've discussed such matters with my roommates before, saying that I don't maliciously speculate about others, but they think I'm unconventional. "Don't undress anymore." I saw teardrops in her eyes and waved for her to stop. But Sophia kept going, saying as she did, "While it's still serving someone, attending to you is more tolerable. You don't know how disgusting other men can be." So, there are other men? My heart felt as if it was being jabbed by a needle. Hence, I didn't stop her anymore. Sophia suddenly halted. She grabbed my left hand, sliding down my wristwatch with a hint of anger in her voice. "What's going on?" Underneath the watch strap was a jarringly visible scar. "Get out!" I yanked back my hand, yelling angrily. Sophia's tears started to fall, and she continued to inquire, "What exactly happened? Get out, or else I'll make sure you lose your job and can't earn a penny in this city." I roared once again. Sophia became scared, quickly dressed herself, and fled desperately. When Noah entered, he glanced at me with a complicated expression, but said nothing. The scar on my wrist, of course, was left from attempting suicide. If it were not for Noah saving me, I would have been long dead. Those who fall in love, when they lose that love, truly don't fear death. But they fear the exposing of their scars. Returning home, I couldn't sleep all night. Only when dawn was near did I manage to get a few hours of fitful sleep. Right now, work wasn't particularly hectic, but I still went in. I had to pretend to be busy, so as to distract from the negative feelings the reunion with Sophia had stirred up. However, I had no interest in work. I was aimlessly flipping through TikTok on my phone like I wanted to wear the screen out but didn't find anything that could hold my attention. Eventually, I began scrolling through Facebook where I noticed a long-added group chat with my classmates was particularly active today. Opening it, I saw that someone had proposed a get-together. I didn't reply in the group chat. Instead, I simply noted down the time and location. 8 o'clock at night, the Bronze Sparrow Terrace. I stood at the entrance of the private dining room, yet no longer felt like entering. I've never had a liking for the comparisons made at alumni gatherings. Then, a jarring voice came from within. Sophia, I heard you're working as a hostess at club in London. Don't just make things up. Sophia is a technician there, not a hostess. Is there a difference? Well, the difference is that technician sounds nicer. Haha. Sophia, what are your rates? How much do you charge to sleep with someone? That's a top club, she definitely won't be cheap. But we can pool our resources and experience what this former princess of the London circle tastes like. Their comments, to my ears, were grating. Peeking through the crack in the door, I saw Sophia, her lowered head silent. When she was wealthy and powerful, she had never belittled them. Now that she was destitute, she was the one being bullied. I also saw a man walking straight towards Sophia, reaching out to touch her. I swung the door open. The noise was loud enough to freeze the man in his tracks. They all looked at me, then fell into silence. The gathering site was in London. They, too, were all locals of London. The company I owned, in name, was managed by Noah, and I hardly ever appeared in public. Hence, these classmates of mine were unaware of my current status. Who do they think I am? Sophia's lapdog? The man who had just retracted his wandering hands was about to reach out again. I casually picked up a bottle of Mau Tai from the table and said, "Put your hands down." "William, what do you mean?" One of his companions stood up, pointing at me and said, "Do you know who Jack is? Even know his status? Do you know how much money their company's game development could make? The reason you can sit with Jack at the same table is a testament to your fortunes. Dare to cross him." I never pay attention to these sycophant types, instead addressing Jack. "Take my advice. Quit it." "Who do you think you are to advise Jack?" The ignored sycophant suddenly gave me a shove. Crash. Without hesitation, I swung the bottle down. With the shattering of the bottle, the strong smell of alcohol spread. The sycophant also fell to the ground, his head and face covered in blood. The broken shards had also cut my hand. Sophia rushed over, grabbing my hand, her eyes full of tears. But I did not move. Still addressing Jack, "Did Sophia ever treat you in such a demeaning manner when she was wealthy and influential? Is it because she was once mighty and now in decline? You are stepping on her to satisfy some pathetic conquest desire." Jack frowned, and then smiled. "William, you hit my man and now you're giving me a lesson. Are you tired of living?" I glanced at the screaming lackey, then sat in a chair, my foot pressing on his face. "Jack, if I am not mistaken, you are merely the general manager hired by that game company. In a nicer term, you are a white-collar worker. In a harsher term, aren't you just a salaryman?" I sneered and said, "Believe it or not, if I make a call right now, you're getting fired." Everyone was silent, then burst into laughter. They didn't believe that I had that kind of power. Because in the eyes of these individuals who hustle in the London circle, I am a nobody, by default a small fish. Sophia, however, crouched beside me, cleaning my wounds with mineral water, sobbing quietly. I didn't say much, took out my phone, dialed a number, and switched it to speaker. After the call was connected, Noah's voice came from the other end. "William, what happened? Jack got his position as the general manager through your connections, right? He dares to bully Sophia. He shall be blacklisted in the industry." I said this calmly. Noah was silent for a while before replying, "Okay. I will notify the HR department to issue a letter." The call was hung up. This time, all the people fell silent. before someone's laughter broke the silence. But there were obviously fewer people laughing now. Among the crowd, a portion of them were still skeptical. Jack was also somewhat flustered, but he sneered, "William, you are playing your role quite perfectly, aren't you? Do you think that a simple phone call would intimidate me? Call Noah. Put it on speaker," I said. Jack's face grew paler as he took out his phone and dialed. All eyes were on him. The call connected and Noah's voice immediately filled the air. "Jack, when has Sophia ever offended you?" "And no, she hasn't." Jack stuttered, casting a pleading glance at me. Clearly, he believed and he was afraid. Noah continued, "If that's the case, why did you bully Sophia?" Boss Noah, give me a chance, I admit I was wrong." Jack's voice was laced with a crying tone. "Please apologize to William." Noah hung up the phone. Jack walked up to me and knelt down right away. "William, I was wrong. Give me another chance." "You've got the wrong person to apologize," I said. Immediately, Jack turned to Sophia and said, "Sophia, I know I was wrong." Sophia raised her head. Pleadingly, she looked at me and said, "Let's leave it at that. Stop causing more trouble. It's not worth it for me." Her eyes were full of begging. After a brief pause, I closed my eyes and finally said, "So be it." Then, I stood up, took Sophia with me and walked outside. We went to the parking lot and sat inside the business car. Sophia found a first aid kit and bandaged me, criticizing all along, "How old are you? How can you get hurt while fighting others? And you were quite overbearing just now. Aren't you afraid of killing someone?" I did not respond, but instead, I opened the window and lit a cigarette. After Sophia finished bandaging me, she said, "You're okay now, so I'll be taking my leave first." "Where are you going?" I asked casually. With a bitter smile, Sophia replied, "I came to this reunion wanting to see Lily. I wanted to ask her for a favor. She said she would come, but she didn't. I am going to look for her. I know Lily. When I was with Sophia, she would often come to hang out with us. Moreover, Lily is the type who plays really hard. She even once asked Sophia to let me hang out with her for a few days but was denied. Later, when Sophia left without a word, I also looked for Lily, but she did not respond. However, recently there has been a project in the company that is related to Lily's family. What do you need to find her for? You can tell me first. I might be able to help," I said. Sophia shook her head and replied, "The Liu family is bankrupt, and my father and brother have been imprisoned. Trying to navigate this kind of relationship with just money doesn't work." "I see." Taking out my phone, I found Lily's number. After I connected the call, I said, "It's me. Where are you? Let's meet up." "Okay, I got it." After I hung up the call, Sophia glanced at me with a complex expression and asked, "Are you very close with Lily?" "Somewhat." After replying with a sentence, I said to the driver, "Head to the Imperial Court Lake Villa." On the way, Sophia did not speak again. I could tell that her mood was extremely low. Furthermore, her eyes were red, as if she was holding in tears. When we were together back then, Lily was very interested in me. Even in front of Sophia, she did not hide her seductive moves towards me. At that time, I knew that Lily's family was not to be offended by Sophia's family, so I would rather let Lily take a little advantage of me than give her a chance to make trouble for Sophia. Every time Lily left, Sophia would hold me and cry, saying that she was useless, unable to protect me well. But each time, I would tell her that I would sacrifice everything for her, and being taken advantage of as a man did not matter. At such times, Sophia would always sigh, wishing to be an ordinary person so that she could marry me in the future. But discussing this further would upset her, for if she was ordinary, she felt she wouldn't be able to help me. Then she would resume crying. Behind closed doors, she was always a crybaby. At that moment, the car stopped. As Sophia and I exited the car, I saw Lily at the entrance of the villa, clad in a black bikini, her head tilted while she was wiping her damp, long hair. "Oh, you two are together again?" Lily gave a soft smile before saying, "William, When you called, I was having a pool party. When I knew you were coming, I chased everyone away. I'm good to you, right? I didn't respond. Sophia, however, kept her head bowed and didn't dare to look at Lily. Lily didn't seem to care. She focused on Sophia and said, Sophia, you used to be so glamorous. Now you've fallen so low. How pitiful. She turned around and walked towards the villa, murmuring, let's go inside and talk. Lily's bikini was a thong. Her body was stunning, and as she swayed her hips, even I, who had refrained for years, couldn't help looking at her more than once. Suddenly, Sophia gripped my hand and gently pinched the muscle at the base of my thumb. Then, as if she had done something wrong, she let go of my hand. It's true, men are controlled by their vision and can easily be distracted. Whenever I was with Sophia and happened to gaze at good-looking senior or junior students, she would pinch my tiger's mouth, the base of thumb, to show that she had noticed and was jealous. Feeling a strange warmth in my heart, I yearned for the past. After entering the villa, Lily asked Sophia and I to sit on the sofa while she laid on the yoga mat in her bikini, showing off her great figure. As Lily performed her yoga, she began talking. I don't have to guess why you're here. You're here because of Sophia's father's matter, aren't you? Can you help? Asked. Lily nods, saying, I can, and it's not hard. How much will it cost? I inquire further. Remaining in a kneeling position, Lily turns to me and says, this isn't about money. It's about something I wanted but didn't obtain. Do you understand? Sophia suddenly grabs my hand and says, let's go. Surely I get it. Lily wants me. To be blunt, she couldn't play me before, but she is determined to now. Lily looks at me and says, William, you were charming back at school. Perfect in every way, handsome too. I genuinely wanted to have some fun with you, but with Sophia in the way, I couldn't. She suddenly breaks into a smile, stands up, walks towards me, plops onto my lap, and wraps her arms around my neck. And now, you're an enchantingly reserved boss, even more magnetic. Sophia pulls at me, pleading, let's leave, William, please. I shake her off and say coldly, Sophia, if you hadn't disappeared without a word, I would have sacrificed everything for my love for you. But you left me, and now, love for you no longer exists. If I help you now, it's only to repay a favor. I don't need your help. Sophia tugs at me, trying to leave with me. Just like many previous drinking parties, she even attempts to carry me away after I've been plied with drink. But this time, I shake her off. Sophia, after I help you this time, we're even. I firmly release her grip. That night, Sophia was driven out. I called a driver to send Sophia back to London. As for me, I stayed at Lily's house. She was like a cunning enchantress, demanding in various forms, and I willingly obliged. Actually, just as I once told Sophia, I am a man, and in this regard, I don't believe I am at a disadvantage. That week, I stayed in the capital city. Every day, Lily took me to various banquets, and my true identity was exposed. My internet company was already an industry giant, and now it had ties with the Sue family. It naturally became a hot topic. And I found out that all of this was arranged by Lily. Her family probably wanted to penetrate the internet industry. But the cake in the current industry has almost been divided. If we hadn't released a viral phenomenon level game, there would be no way to get a piece of the pie. So, the best way for her family to enter was to seize an existing internet company. And the mix of those existing internet companies is too complex. My company, on the other hand, was the perfect choice. On the last day, Lily made dinner at her villa. Lily's cooking was impressive, and she looked much softer and calmer in her home where she sat across from me, her smile particularly gentle. William, you've always been a smart person, so you should know what I want, right? I nodded, continuing to eat my meal because it was really delicious. Lily continued, I have a proposal. Let's get married. Give my family 20% of your business stock, and from then on, I'll a well-behaved housewife. Forget about marrying. I waved my hand dismissively, leaning back a bit. Using a napkin, I wiped my mouth and said, "However, I do agree with your family's investment, but I won't give in on the price at all. For 20% of the shares, I want 50 billion." Lily was taken aback, then furrowed her brows. "Why not marry? The goal of your family is to enter the internet industry, not to marry me. You don't have to dwell on this." I responded calmly. "Besides, are you sure you can give up going out and having fun for me? You can't do it, and I can't accept my woman fooling around. Why make it hard for each other?" Lily seemed to hesitate, but in the end, she nodded. "All right, I accept, but you need to cooperate with me and start some rumors first." "No problem." I nodded. The next day, I returned to London. When I left the company that evening, I spotted Sophia in the underground parking garage. She was dressed simply in a plain white dress, but nonetheless she was captivatingly beautiful. Any time I saw her, I lost my composure. I stopped in my tracks and asked, "Do you need something?" "My father and brother have been released on bail, thank you," said Sophia, tears already streaming down her face. "I will arrange for them to leave the country as soon as possible," I replied and then got into the car. Sophia came rushing towards me, her arm outstretched in an attempt to stop me from closing the car door. But the door closed nonetheless, catching her wrist. The pain made her tears fall like rain, yet she stubbornly did not utter a cry. I opened the car door and hesitated before pulling her in. Then I held her hand as I used to do, caring for her. Sophia said through her tears, "Did Lily bully you? Did you sleep with her? William, you shouldn't do this for me. You have such a great future ahead. Why muddy the waters for my sake?" She was upset, she was jealous, and she lamented for my sake. And that's why she was impressive. Seeing her so emotional, I could only draw her close into my arms, letting her cry it all out. When I got home, she had already cried herself into unconsciousness. I carried her back to the bedroom, laying her gently on the bed. As I turned to leave, she suddenly gripped my hand. I turned back, seeing how she hid half of her face in the quilt, leaving only her eyes exposed. After the first night we spent together, she said she was thirsty. When I got her some water, she hid in the same shy manner, yet there was a longing in her eyes to gaze at me. Hence, only her eyes were visible. "Don't go." Her fingers clung to the edge of the quilt. Her voice was soft and low, humming like sand. I sat down at her side, hesitating for a moment before I gave her an ultimatum. "This is your last chance. Why did you leave without a word? If you can't answer, then I will leave, and I'll agree to Lily's proposal and marry her." Upon hearing this, Sophia immediately sat up and threw herself into my arms, exclaiming, "No way! So why did you leave me without a word?" I persisted, adamantly pushing her away. Sophia looked at me, her tears dropping like rain. There was trouble at home. We had enemies everywhere, looking for their revenge. I couldn't bear to drag you down with me. It took all my strength to leave the villa and the car to you. All the money as well, it was all I had at that time. Cupping my face in her hands, Sophia looked at me, her face full of grievance. "I feared that you'd suffer if I was around. I feared that after leaving you'd be worse off. I feared you'd find a girlfriend. I had so many fears, yet the thing I feared most was that my troubles would hurt you, because it could get you killed. Why did you publicly humiliate me?" I asked again. Sophia's tears grew more intense. "Every time I humiliated you in public, I felt even more sad than you did. I had no choice. I had to make everyone know that you mean nothing to me. Otherwise, even if I broke up with you, they would still take revenge on you. I dare not let them know that I love you." I laughed. "Turns out that my love has always been well placed." Holding me, Sophia said, "And do you know? I already told my parents about us a long time ago, and they agreed to our marriage. Do you know how happy I was when I managed to convince them? But things didn't go as planned. A sudden crisis occurred in my family, and I had no choice but to leave you. So, after all these years, you never inquired about me? You should know by now that I'm wealthy. Before I could finish, Sophia shook her head with a bitter smile. It's useless. My family's problem is not something that can be solved with money. If I had found you, I know you would have helped me without hesitation. But you wouldn't be able to, and moreover, you would have ended up getting dragged into this mess. Sophia shook her head. I took a deep breath, thinking that we were both incredibly foolish. But the truth was just as Sophia had said, and neither of us could solve the problem. If Lily hadn't wanted to enter the internet industry, and if my company wasn't the right fit for them, I wouldn't have been able to help Sophia even now. This was the gap between our social classes, a gap that my vast wealth still could not bridge. But now it is possible. I promised to give Lily 20% of the shares so that they can officially enter the internet industry. I held her in my arms and said, Lily proposed to marry me, but I declined. Nevertheless, your father and brother still have to go abroad. Otherwise, Lily can harm them at any time. I will listen to you, Sophia whispered in reply in my arms. It took me 3 months to send Sophia's father and brother away. Yet those 3 months were not spent on resolving matters, but on handling Lily. She asked me to accompany her for 3 months, using this period to generate public attention for her family in the internet industry. However, behind the scenes, Lily was consistently active in the board meetings. They wanted to acquire the shares of other shareholders in order to become the new owners of the company and eventually oust me from the game. I've heard before, when such large families engage in this kind of wrongdoing, they are simply ruthless. But they did not succeed because I had a backup plan for the company's shares. The shares of Noah and I were untouchable, but adding our shares together only gives us 45%. The identity of the key shareholder, who holds 15% of the shares, remains a secret. Lily had to pull a considerable amount of strings to find this mysterious shareholder. This person was none other than Sophia. By the time Lily thought of reaching out to Sophia's family to obtain these shares, they were already unreachable. Then, my family was targeted, but unfortunately for them, my family was already overseas. I have money. I can afford to hire the most ruthless and disciplined mercenaries to protect them. So even though Lily has influence overseas, they can do nothing about it. That evening at Lily's villa, we concluded at the dinner table. She curled up in my arms and whispered, "Have you been wary of me all along? I never thought of myself as particularly charming, nor do I believe that someone like you could genuinely love me. But the passion you expressed towards me greatly exceeds that of casual play, which means you definitely have ulterior motives. Let me guess, if I really married you, I'd most likely die or become unable to take care of myself after marriage, and the shares would naturally fall into your hands, right?" I got up from my chair, casually tossed Lily on the table, and as I got dressed, I said, "Let's call it a day, Lily. Let's say that we needed each other and got what we wanted, so let's let each other go." Lily, lying on her side, spoke with a hint of resentment. "You spent 3 months with me. Is there no affection at all?" I extended my hand and said, "The way you make me feel is no different from this hand. Such a heartless man." Lily chuckled lightly. She was a thorough egoist, always pursuing her own interests. For her, emotions were merely additives. She didn't mind having them, but too much of them, she'd fear they may harm her health. Having settled the affairs with Lily, I returned to Sophia's side. She was still the same as before, dazed every day, loving food, fun, noise, and tears. In fact, I knew that she was very uncomfortable about the time I spent with Lily, but it couldn't be helped. Lily's family was a force we couldn't shake. Without some sacrifices, we wouldn't get any benefits. Even with sacrifices, it was like making a deal with the tiger. The slightest carelessness could cost our lives. We went abroad together and lived on a small island I bought. On the beach, she nestled in my arms and whispered a secret. Sophia said sweetly, "Actually, I lied to you at the club. I've never been with another man. In this lifetime, you're the only man for me. You were, you are, and you always will be."